Hi everybody. I had just posted 3 videos of what I think the basics that you need are in stamping and how you can grow and progress in your stamping. Again, it's my personal opinion. I am not endorsed to do card making or scrapbooking. I am just a home crafter like a lot of you are, and so sometimes there's a budget issue and sometimes there's no budget. It's your hobby and you can do what you want. So I posted 3 videos from beginner to what I think would be advanced in terms of card making and stamping. So I wanted to make a quick card today and see how we can step it up each level. I just want to show you guys quick. These are some cards I made from the Hero Arts monthly hero stamp kit. Whether you are new or advanced in stamping, I just think these kits are great value because you get a lot of stamps. A lot of times you get dies and inks and extra things, and they're limited. Like once they're sold out, they're sold out, and they usually have a whole kit. Like the only thing you really need to do is add paper, and a lot of them come with paper. But it's a neat set. The one thing I didn't mention in this first video was the different types of stamps. There are photopolymer stamps, acrylic stamps, there are silicone stamps, which are my least favorite stamps, and there are also red rubber stamps. These are made of photopolymer stamps, so they are very high quality stamps. They will hold the ink well, they will stamp clear and crisp. And Hero Arts just in general makes very good products from their stamps, their inks, their stencils. So anytime you can invest in Hero Arts, you're definitely going to get your money's worth out of it. But these are the kits. So for this first card, I purchased an add-on, which is with some mandala stamp, and I've made a couple videos on this. You guys can go back and check last week's videos. I did these with Spectrum Noir sparkle pens, and all I did was heat embossed it in clear on the watercolor paper and then used the Spectrum Noirs to kind of do a little bit of faux watercoloring with these, and there is some sparkle on them with this background stamp. So very simple to do. On this card here, I had stenciled the background with some purple and blue distress inks there through the stencils and cut it out with this die shape that came in the kit here to make it like a little window. And then the genie is part of an add-on. Stamped her out, colored her, put some of the epoxy stickers that came in the kit. Very simple card for a young girl. On that one. And then this one I've been kind of working on. So what I did here was I stamped out the sand and then I masked it off with some masking paper, distress ink background this with purple, I forget the 2 colors, distress inks, and then I had stamped the camels, the trees, and the snake. Now this camel I just colored and cut him out with the die, and I kind of want to put him here, but I'm afraid it looks funny with the snake there. So you guys give me an opinion what you think I should do. I can cover this up with other images. I can do it without the camel and just stamp a sentiment, but I kind of want my camel here and then a sentiment there. So post down in the comments what you think I should do with this card and the camel. And I have some other items out on the desk here. So first video I said is I cut my own 110-pound inexpensive card stock and then score it and fold it in half with my bone folder. And if you have a score buddy, you can do it on the score buddy so that you know it's absolutely straight every time. I always have my dimensions here in front of me, so I'm going to show you that. So it's just a little piece of paper, and it says 5.5 by 4 1/4, 5 1/4 by 4, and then 5 by 3 3/4. So my card base is always 5.5 by 4 1/4. It's called standard A2 card base. The next piece that I always do is some kind of a frame. So the frame is the 5 1/4 by 4. So I usually try to do it in matching colors. And then the stamping piece, the center piece, is usually 5 by 3 3/4. This is how I make 90% of my cards. I don't want too much thought into what I'm doing, so this is how I do it. And this is just posted right in front of me so that when I'm cutting the paper, I know what size to make everything. So now all I really need to do is just focus on the colors and what I'm going to stamp. So the first card I want to do is just a really simple card. I don't want this video to be too long because I think the other videos are long enough. And what I'm going to do is take some Post-it tape here, and I'm going to tape this down almost all the way down to the edge of the bottom of the cardstock here. And then another piece on this side here. So what I'm doing is just masking off kind of like a rectangular area. And actually, I want to move it over. Let's do it this way. And you want it as straight as you can get it. I mean, if you really wanted to be technical, you could get a die out and cut it. See, I know that's not straight. So we want this pretty straight because you'll see here we're going to sponge this little area here. Here we go. So we're going to be sponging in this area here. And I said in the video, if you were a beginner, you would want to use sponges. If you were more advanced, you might want to invest in some distress inking tools or some clarity brushes. So again, just depending on your level, how much you want to invest. There are people that have been stamping for way longer than I have and still using sponges. That's great. Whatever you want to do, everybody has their own method of how they want to do things. And I'm just going to pick out some different color inks. So here are 3 different manufacturers. Stampin' Up! Peekaboo Peach, The Ton, Dye Ink in Beach Blonde, and Hero Art Shadow Ink in Soft Vanilla. So I'm just going to start with the Peekaboo Peach. I'm just going to take one of these little sponges and just kind of get some of that ink on the sponge. And I'm just going to start at the top on the tape and just kind of do a circular motion and sponge that in there. And you always want to start with a light hand, and if you don't think it's enough, you can always go back in and add some more. And it's the same thing if you were using a distress tool. Kind of overlapping that a little. I'm just going to use the same sponge for the Hero Arts. And here you can even see, guys, they almost look like identical pads. Like even the little felt part to it. So I have a feeling they're manufactured by the same company. That's why they're so similar. Which is great for us because as stampers, you can invest your money in all different companies, get all different colors. Okay, so that's my background. And then I have this, oops, Hero Arts. This is an older stamp. It's a French script stamp, so you can get any kind of scripty stamp. They sell this in rubber stamps. They sell them in clear acrylic stamps. There's all different manufacturers out there that make some kind of a scripty stamp. And I think I want like a really light brown. Here's the Stampin' Up! One, Baked Brown Sugar. And I like the Stampin' Up! Ink pads, guys, because they're kind of spongy, so they have a little bit of give, but they're also closest to me. They're right next to my desk on the right, where the other inks are behind me, so they're just easier for me to grab. And I'm just going to stamp up the right side of this ink pad, and I'm going to find some scrap paper here. I'm just going to stamp that off and then take it to, and I don't want to cross this line here. I'm just going to take it here and stamp down. So it's just barely there. A nice light gray would have worked as well. Again, taking that, stamping it off, and just stamping it down. Okay, so there we have our background. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm using these Stampendous clear stamps. These are Agapanthus Thanks. And again, these are photopolymer. I think before I had said these are silicone. They are not silicone. They are photopolymer, so they're very good quality. And I have a long stamping block I'm putting these on. And I'm not using my stamp positioning tool. I'm doing very basic stamping here. What I am going to use, though, is VersaFine black ink. Another tip that I can give to new stampers is to have a Pinterest account. You can see so many things on Pinterest, so many ideas, so many different crafters out there. If there's a brand of a stamp that you want to buy, you can look it up ahead of time and see what other crafters had made with it. You don't always have to have the newest stuff that's out there. There's a lot of things that you might have in your stash as you build it up that will look very close. So now we have this cute little background, and it's kind of ombre with 3 different colors there. And all I've done is inked up my stamp with that VersaFine, and the reason I like that ink again is it's super dark black. And I'm going to mask off this bottom again. So it's okay that my flowers stamp on the outside of the block, but I don't want them to go onto the paper there. So there we go. And again, as you become more involved in your craft and your hobby and you want to spend more, you can get a stamp positioning tool to put this on, so that way if it's not all completely inked up. So I wouldn't mind re-inking this and stamping it again, but if I were a new stamper, I wouldn't want to mess with it. The other thing you can do if you want to step it up a notch, which I am going to attempt to do here if I can do it quickly, is put some clear embossing powder on here. So as a beginner stamper, I would probably stop right here and be okay with it. But if I want to take it up a level, that clear embossing is now, powder is now stuck to the black parts that were stamped. So I'm just going to get my heat tool and get it started. Having some technical difficulties here. There we go. All right. And then again, if you wanted to, you could just attach it right to the card base, which I have here. Or again, if you want to step it up a level, I have this embossed panel. So you could do just your card base and a regular sheet of paper. I have this run through the embossing machine, so it's going to give it a little bit of a layer. We can use our Tombow glue or tape runner, or even foam tape if you want to have a dimensional look to it. You can pop it up with some foam tape. The only thing I want to do now is stamp some kind of a sentiment on here. So let's see here. You always want a good sentiment set. I have this set on my desk here. This is from the Altenew set. Good versatile set. I'll go over that with you guys too. And just to show you guys, if you wanted to use a stamp positioner, yes, you could use a stamping block. However, with a stamping block, you're going to take the chance of having to line it up and make sure it's straight. I'm going to use a stamp positioner here and just show you the benefits of owning one of these guys. Just putting my magnets down. I'm going to put this where I think it should go. Close the little door. Now, there are grid lines on here, and I can see that it is slightly off the grid lines. So I'm going to move it down just a smidgen so that it's lined up with the grid lines. So now it is straight. And I'm going to also ink that up again with the black VersaFine. Close the door. And that stamped out pretty nicely. I don't know that I would have been able to line that up with a stamp block. It might have been a little crooked. And once again, we can leave it like that or step it up a notch. So now that is raised as well. And we can either use glue or stamp runner. I'm going to do one more thing here, which I don't do. Destroy everything on my desk. I don't do too often is I have a corner rounder punch here. And that just rounds the corners off. Now you can see, well, maybe you can't see, I smudged the corner here. There's a fingerprint right there. You guys see that? So that's where this mono eraser comes in handy. It's just sanding that top layer down. And erasing that ink. Now, there's still some more we can do here. We can leave it the way it is, or we can take the sponges, kind of like this peekaboo peach color. Just kind of line the edges with it. Okay. You might say, okay, we're done. Nope, I think we can still do some more. So I have a Spectrum Noir clear marker here. I'm just going to put that in right where the flowers are. So now they kind of sparkle. There's a little bit of shimmer that goes with them. See that? And still not done. This is what's fun about making these cards, is you can continue to embellish them until you think it's enough. I have some clear sequins here. I'm going to use my multi-matte medium, and I'm only going to put a couple of sequins on here. So we're going to start down up in this corner here. And I try to do them like in a triangle, just to be visually appealing. And you can use little tweezers. I have a little pickup tool. There's this pickup tool. And I have another one, which I think fell out when I did the, when I dropped what I just dropped. So I'll just use this guy. And I just grab a couple of these, put them out, a couple different sizes. There we go. There's another end to this that you can pull out and use as a stopper to hold it in place. And because this is matte glue, it'll dry matte. You won't see it sticking out. There's a little extra glue there. It'll look really good when it's done. So now we're just going to put these sequins back in. Leah's here asking me if I'm almost going to be done. So yes, we're almost done.
Okay. I'm really happy.
All right. So then the last thing to do is just put this on your card base. I'm going to use tape runner instead of glue. I know my sequins are drying there, so I'm just going to do not that. See what happens when your tape runner's too strong for your paper? Ooh. All right. So we're just going to put this down. And then we'll just let that set aside for the sequins to dry on there before we fiddle with it too much. So there we go, guys. I hope you liked this video. I hope you like the other 3 videos. If you have any questions or comments, please, again, post them below. And it's just how simple you can make a card, or how much more you can add to it. So we did a little bit extra with the heat embossing on the flowers and the sentiment. We did the dry embossing on the background. We did the glitter sparkle spectrum on the flowers. We added the sequins, and we inked the edges. So a couple little things there that you can add to a card to just step it up a notch. Or you can just simple stamp the background, stamp it down, stamp your sentiment, and be done with it. So lots of little things there. If you have any questions, post them below. Thanks for watching, and keep on stamping.